A 533mm torpedo at 65 knots. 4 minutes to live. You clicked for Chinese subs versus US carriers. This is the 240-second window that almost rewrote the Western Pacific. We'll break down how a Type 093 closed to about 400 meters, why the Reagan's crew went full reverse and hard over, and what Nixie decoys and Mk3 acoustic bursts do to an AI-driven seeker. Stay for the decision that mattered more than steel, a deliberate choice not to fire back. By the end, you'll know the exact moves that turned a kill shot into a doctrine shift. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great! Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. 4 minutes. A 533mm heavyweight is in the water. You don't get a second try, so what breaks first, steel, software, or nerves? The geometry is ugly. A Type 093 has crept close, inside a knife range that strips you of comfort. Around 400 meters, the tube floods, the shot leaves. 65 knots means closing fast, almost point-blank by naval standards. The carrier's combat system throws a high probability inbound. No debate. CIC snaps to immediate action, and every console lights red. The clock starts.
Philippine Coast Guard says 2 U.S. Navy warships were deployed off Scarborough Shoal following the collision of Chinese ships in the area. Ariela says U.S. ships were exercising navigational rights and freedoms in the West Philippine Sea in accordance with international law. PCG spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Commodore J. Ariela, says USS Higgins and USS Cincinnati were monitored 30 nautical miles away from Scarborough Shoal on Wednesday, August 13.
Speed is life, until it isn't. A fast close buys reach and impact, but it also buys noise. The paradox rules the next minutes. The torpedo seeker needs a story it believes, a carrier's broad wake, heavy prop notes, steady hull resonance. But decoys write better fiction under pressure. If they sing louder without sounding wrong, the weapon leans toward the lie. If they overdo it, the brain rejects it as a cheap trick. This is a duel of signatures, not bravado. In the first 30 seconds, the room hears it, a transient spike, sharp and wrong against the background churn. CIC tags it, confidence rising in a heartbeat instead of a minute. On the bridge, the order is hard over. Down below, engineering goes to full reverse on selected shafts, not to stop but to carve the wake apart. You change the ship's aspect. You shear the water. You turn a clear trail into a mess. Now think like the weapon. The seeker isn't mystical. It pattern matches. It hunts the rhythm of prop cavitation, the thrum of a long hull, the chaos band of wake turbulence. One line of code says chase steady tones, another says hunt froth, a third punishes anything that peaks too clean. Nixie goes out and tries to pass as the ship's voice, loud enough to tempt, dirty enough to feel real. It can't sound like a studio track. It has to sound like steel working under load. Meanwhile, the deck crew drops Mk3 acoustic cans. They crack underwater like flashbangs, not to blind a human eye but to blind a digital ear. Each pop builds clutter. Now the destroyer screen spreads, pushing their own noise fields wide.
In recent years, Beijing has begun dramatically expanding the two bases to accommodate a growing fleet of vessels and to provide a home for China's new seaborne nuclear deterrent. On this hill above a luxury hotel is a surface-to-air missile site guarding two of China's most important naval facilities, Yulin and Longpo.
It also offers geographical projection for the People's Liberation Army into the South China Sea region, submarines, which can follow down this channel into the really deep parts of the South China Sea, which allow for difficulty in detection.
They cross beams and wakes to build false junctions the torpedo's logic must parse. In that mixed chorus, the weapon's decision tree gets bent. Every wrong branch buys seconds. At 65 knots, the closure is brutal. About 33 meters a second. Every breath costs distance. The carrier turns, and the math matters. Big hulls don't dance, but survival chops the rulebook. Turning radius meets wake bloom. As the stern digs in and reverse bites, the wake blooms into a white, aerated smear. Bubbles scatter sound and fatten decoy gain. You don't need perfect agility. You need to break the line of best fit long enough for the brain to doubt. Human hands drive the next choices. Under red lights, the decision matrix is simple and cold. Don't spike escalation if you can solve with soft steel. Hold lethal counterattack. Prioritize decoys, speed control, aspect change. Keep the formation tight enough to protect, loose enough to avoid path overlap. Voice discipline beats adrenaline. The person on the throttle trusts the person on the sonar. The person on the con trusts the plot. The weapon lunges. It samples, rejects, resamples. The carrier's signature stutters as wake shear and engine reversal throw off the cadence. Nixie's track holds shape. The louder ghost looks close and honest. The torpedo commits. It bites the wrong trail and slides past the real mass. The ship lives by meters you can count on one hand if you had time to look back. No one cheers. The group holds fire. The shooter still sits in the dark, and the need for restraint holds. This isn't a victory lap. It's a reveal. The defense that excels against missiles, long-reach, layered radar, interceptors cued and fused, was forced into a knife fight by a swimmer with a brain. Torpedo warfare punishes delay, thrives on confusion, and closes the margin to human reaction time. The miss didn't end the problem. It underlined it in bold. Because the next shot won't wait for you to spool a perfect decoy. It won't honor your playbook. It will test whether your sonar and your loop can fuse faster than a steel serpent can think. 4 minutes showed the gap. Carriers swat missiles with reach and layers, but a steel serpent in the water forces a closer fight. You need hard-kill interceptors, smarter sonar, and AI that fuses feeds fast enough to act before doubt creeps in. Training matters more when seconds bleed. So what would you do? Sink the shooter and risk war, or hold fire and harden the shield? Comment your choice below. Your call defines the next doctrine. Subscribe and join a community that seeks to understand the realities of modern conflict. Next, we break down a networked Poseidon-style shield that could change the calculus at sea.